Hi everyone. So welcome back to chemistry online class. So in the last session, I already explained the important chapters for the PUC first year and the weightage of each chapter in the final examination. And along with this, the one more very important part is the question paper pattern for the theory examination as well as the practical part. Okay, so now in the today's class, let us start with the first very important and basic chapter in chemistry, that is under the heading some basic concepts of chemistry part. As you already know that out of 14 lessons, the 5 lessons belongs to the physical section, 6 lessons comes under inorganic chemistry part, and only 3 chapters comes under organic section. So how many chapters in physical chemistry? 5 chapters in physical chemistry, students. And out of these 5 chapters, the first important chapter, a very important and the basic chapter is some basic concepts of chemistry, students. And here the name itself indicates that, the name itself tells us that some basic concepts of chemistry. That means most of the concepts comes under this chapters are very basic from the chemistry point of view. Okay, so almost all the concepts are very important basic concepts used under chemistry part. And here some basic concepts of chemistry. So already you know the weightage of this chapter in the final examination, students. So the total weightage of this some basic concepts of chemistry is 8 marks in the final examination. And you know the question paper pattern also. The question paper consists of 4 parts: part A, part B, part C and part D. Okay, and here the weightage, the total weightage of this chapter is 8 marks, students. And here in the final examination, based on this some basic concepts of chemistry, so based on this chapter, so they frame 3 questions in final examination. Okay, so you will get only 3 questions from this some basic concepts of chemistry in the final examination, students. And out of these 3 questions, so one question in part A, so that carries 1 marks in the final examination, one question in part B, okay, one question in part B and one question in part D1. You just recall the question paper pattern, students. So in part D, again there are 2 mains. One is part D1 and the second one is part D2. So D1 it is purely meant for physical section, whereas D2 meant for organic section, student. And this some basic concepts of chemistry, it belongs to the physical chemistry part. So out of 3 questions, you will get 1 question in part A, 1 question in part B and 1 question in part D, students. Okay, so 1 mark 1 question, 2 mark 1 question and 5 mark 1 question. So 1 plus 2 plus 5, what is the total weightage, students? 8 marks in the final examination. Okay, so here some basic concepts of chemistry. So already in the bridge course part also we discussed about basic terms and terminologies. The very first question, that is nothing but chemistry. So we all know that chemistry is a branch of science. Chemistry is a branch of science which mainly deals with structure of matter, composition of matter and properties of matter. So that branch of science itself we call it as a chemistry, students. And here in the definition of chemistry, so in the definition of chemistry, it deals with the structure of matter, composition of matter and properties of matter. One of the very important and basic term is matter, students. And already we discussed about all these basic terms and terminologies in the bridge course part, students. Okay, so I just briefly I revise those basic terms and terminologies, because all those basic terms are there in this some basic concept of a chemistry chapter. Okay, so start with the matter. Already you know the definition of a matter also and example for the matter also. And here, so this matter, so matter is classified into two different modes. The first mode is a physical classification of a matter, and the second mode of classification is a chemical mode of classification. One is a physical mode of classification and the second one is chemical classification. And based on the physical classification of matter, the matter can be subdivided into three important physical states of matter. Yes, tell me students, what are the three important physical states of matter? Yes, very good. The first one is a solid state, second one is a liquid state, and the third one is called as a gaseous state, students. Yes, tell me what are the three different physical states of matter? Solid state, second one is a liquid state, and the third one is called as a gaseous state of a matter, students. And in addition to these three physical state of a matter, already in the bridge course we discussed about the third, fourth and fifth state of matter also. So can you recall what is the fourth state of matter? Very good. The plasma state is called as a fourth state of a matter, students. The plasma state is called as the fourth state of a matter, whereas BEC is called as a fifth state of matter, that is Bose-Einstein condensate. The fourth state is nothing but the plasma state, and the fifth state of a matter is called as a Bose-Einstein condensate. Okay, and here you just remember the three important physical states of a matter. One is a solid state, second one is a liquid state, and the third one is called as a gaseous state of a matter, students. And already the properties of all these three different physical states of matter are discussed in the bridge course part. Okay, so here this is about the physical classification of matter concept. And the second important mode of classification, is chemical classification of matter. So here, based on the chemical composition, the matter can be subdivided into two different categories. The first one is called as a pure substances, whereas in the second category we call it as impure substances. So pure and impure substances. So based on the chemical composition of matter, so the matter can be subdivided into two categories. The first category we call it as a pure substances, whereas the second category we call it as impure substances. And again, in case of pure substances, so these pure substances are further classified into two different categories. How many types of pure substances, students? So two different categories. The first one is called as an element and the second one is called as a compound. So these two comes under pure substances, students. So the pure substances are further classified into elements and compounds. And you know the definition of elements. How many elements are discovered till today is known. How many of them are artificial and how many of them are naturally occurring. All these informations are discussed in bridge course part, students. You just recall those informations, students. Okay, so here the element. Again these elements are further subdivided into three different categories. So based on the electrochemical nature of elements, so the elements are further classified into three different categories. The first one is called as a metals, second one is called as a non-metals, and the third type of elements are called as a metalloids. All these three are nothing but different types of elements, students. Yes, tell me what are the different types of elements? Yes, very good. First one is a metal, second one is a non-metal, and the third one is called as a metal, right, students? And the second type of a pure substance is compound. Okay, so now the second type of matter based on the chemical classification. So based on the chemical classification, so the matter can be subdivided into pure substances, and the second category we call it as impure substances, students. Okay, so impure substances, or directly we can call it as a mixtures. And again these mixtures are further classified into two different categories. One is said to be a homogeneous mixture, and the second one is called as a heterogeneous mixture. Yes, tell me students, what are the two different types of mixtures? Homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures, students. And here you please listen. So in case of a chemical classification, the second mode of a classification of matter. So in case of a second mode of a classification, so based on the chemical composition, the matter can be subdivided into pure substances and impure substances, or directly we can say that based on the chemical composition of matter. Based on the chemical composition of a matter, the matter can be subdivided into elements. Second one is called as the compounds, and the third category we call it as the mixtures. Okay, we can call it as subdivided into pure substances and impure substances, or we can also say that the elements, or we can also say that matter is classified into elements, compounds, and mixtures. Okay, so this is all about the complete classification of a matter part. Okay, so in this both the physical classification of matter and the chemical classification of matter, this is all about the complete physical and the chemical classification of a matter, students. Is it clear, students? Are you all understanding what I am explaining? See, all these terms are already explained in the bridge course part. Okay, the same terms are already studied in your lower class also. Okay, so once again I just revise this classification of matter, students. Is it clear? Is there any doubt in this? Okay, so with the help of the complete classification of matter, the next important point is the properties of a matter and their measurement. Listen the next concept carefully. The properties of a matter and their measurement. Once you please recall the definition of a chemistry part. The branch of a science which mainly deals with the structure of a matter, composition of a matter, and the third one is the properties of matter. Now let us discuss the properties of a matter and their measurement. And here, in case of a properties of a matter, the properties of a matter may be physical or chemical. The properties of a matter may be either physical or chemical. That means two different types of properties of a matter. The first one is called as a physical properties of a matter, and the second one is called as a chemical property of a matter. And here, in case of a physical property of a matter, so in case of a physical property of a matter, this physical property of a matter, it does not involve any change in the chemical composition of matter. It does not involve any change in the chemical composition of a matter. So as the name itself indicates, physical properties. So physical property means it involves only change in the physical state of a matter. What is the change takes place here? Physical state of a matter. Only change in the physical state of a matter, and it does not involve chemical change in the chemical composition, students. Whereas in case of chemical properties, so this chemical property, it involves change in the chemical composition of matter, students. Please listen these properties of matter carefully. ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಟೂ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಹೌದಾ? ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಒಳಗೆ ಏನಾಗತ್ತಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಡಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಎನಿ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರತ್ತಲ್ರಿ, ಆ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಸೇಮ್ ಇರತ್ತ. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗೋದೇನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್. ಹೌದಾ? ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಇದ್ದು ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಗಾದ್ರೂ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಗ್ಯಾಸಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಾದ್ರೂ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಗ್ಯಾಸಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿನೂ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಆಗಿನೂ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ನಮಗೆ ಏನ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟೀಸ್ ಒಳಗ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗತ್ತ, ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸೇಮ್ ಇರತ್ತ. So I repeat the physical property. So the physical property, it does not involves any change in the chemical composition of a matter, students. Whereas in case of the chemical properties, so this chemical properties, it involves a change in the chemical composition of matter. Especially chemical property ಒಳಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ chemical composition ನಮಗೆ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೌದಾ? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು ನಮಗೆ, ಬಟ್ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿನ ನಾವು ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಸ್ ದಿ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್, ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್. And here for the physical properties the examples are boiling point of water, or in generally we say that boiling point is a physical property, melting point of the substance is a physical property, volume is a physical property, mass is a physical property, density is a physical property. See, all these are nothing but example for the physical properties of matter, students. Whereas on the other hand, in case of chemical properties, and this chemical property involves a change in the chemical composition of matter. So change in the chemical composition of matter. So change in the chemical composition means almost all the different types of chemical reactions are act as an example for chemical properties of matter, students. So once you please recall the different types of chemical reactions. Yes, tell me students, how many types of chemical reactions are there? Very good, 6 different types of chemical reactions. Yes, can you recall what are those 6 different types of chemical reactions, students? Yes, first one is composition, or we call it as a combination reaction. Second one is decomposition. Third one is displacement. Fourth one is double displacement. Fifth one is neutralization reaction. And the sixth one we call it as a redox reaction. See, all these different types of chemical reactions are act as an example for chemical properties of a matter, students. Okay, oxidation. So already you know in redox reaction it involves 2 different types. One is oxidation, second one is reduction. So oxidation is a chemical property, reduction process is a chemical property, displacement reaction is a chemical property, decomposition reaction is a chemical property, double decomposition reaction is a chemical property, even acid base or neutralization reaction is also act as a chemical property of matter, students. Okay, so this is about the properties of matter. Is it clear, students? So I repeat, the properties of a matter may be either physical or chemical. The physical properties does not involve any change in the chemical composition of matter, whereas chemical property involves change in the chemical composition of matter, students. So all these are the example for physical properties, and these are the example for the chemical properties of a matter, students. And here physical properties, the properties of a matter and their measurement. And especially here for the measurement of physical quantities of a matter. Listen this point carefully. For the measurement of physical quantities of a matter. Physical quantities like mass of the chemical substance, volume of the chemical substance, density of the chemical substance, temperature of the chemical substance, and so on, students. So for the measurement of physical quantities of a matter, physical quantities of a matter, earlier there were two different system of measurements are used. How many types of system of measurement, students? So two different systems of measurements are used, student. The first one is called as a FPS system. The first one is called as a FPS system, and the second system is called as a CGS system. See, all once again these measurements, I think even in physics also you are going to study this measurements. I think in first chapter, that is units and measurement chapter, you are going to study the same concept, the FPS system, CGS system, SI system, and so on. Okay, and here you remember, for the measurement of physical quantities of a matter, earlier there were two different system of measurements are used. The first system of measurement is FPS system, and the second system of measurement is called as a CGS system. Students, FPS system. See, FPS system. So F means food. Listen, F means food, so P means pound, so P means pound, and S means second. So food to pound second system, and this system, it is also called as the English system, students. Listen this point carefully. The first system of measurement is FPS system. It's nothing but food to pound second system, and this system is also called as the English system. And the second important system of measurement, is CGS system. So CGS system means C. So C stands for centimeter. So C stands for centimeter. So G stands for gram, and once again S stands for second. That means centimeter, gram, and second system. The first system is FPS, it's nothing but foot, pound second system, and the second system is called as a CGS system, or centimeter, gram second system, students. FPS system is called as the English system, whereas CGS system is called as the metric system, students. One is English system and second one is called as a metric system, students. Okay, in addition to these two system of measurement, the one more important system of measurement is used. So that is nothing but MKS system, the third important system of measurement. The third important system of measurement is MKS system. And here MKS, so M stands for meter, so K stands for kilogram, and S stands for second, so meter, kilogram, second system. Okay, so all these system of measurements are used in the earlier days. Okay, is it clear, students? Is there any doubt in this? So I repeat, for the measurement of physical quantities, earlier there were two different system of measurements are used. The first system is called as an English system, or we call it as a FPS system, or we use the word foot, pound second system. And the second important system of measurement is a CGS system, or we call it as a metric system, or centimeter, gram second system. And in addition to these two, the one more system of measurement is used in earlier days. That is nothing but a MKS system. So that is meter, kilogram, and second system, students. Okay, all these three important system of measurements are used. And later, so with the help of these three different system of measurements, So later the International Committee of Weights and Measures, so weights and measures introduced the one more system of unit, called as a SI system, the one more important system of measurement called as a SI system. And here, this SI system recognizes seven important basic quantities of a matter, and all these seven quantities are called as a fundamental quantities of matter, or these are also called as seven physical quantities of matter, students. So I repeat here, the International Committee of Weights and Measures. The International Committee of Weights and Measures recommended the use of SI system. And this SI system, it recognizes seven important physical quantities of a matter, and all these seven physical quantities of matter are called as fundamental quantities of matter, or these are also called as basic quantities of matter, students. Is it clear here? Yes, tell me. So, what are the two important systems are used in earlier days? Yes, very good. First one is FPS system. Yes, tell me what is the expansion of FPS? Foot, pound, second system. Then what about second system? CGS. Yes, tell me, student, what is the expansion of CGS? Centimeter, gram, second system. And one more system of measurement is MKS system. Yes, tell me, student, what is the expansion of MKS? So M means meter, K means kilogram, and S means second. MKS or meter, gram, and second system, students. And now with the help of this system of measurements, so let us discuss about the seven important physical quantities of matter, or fundamental quantities of matter, or we call it as a basic quantities of matter, and their SI units, students. So the SI system, it recognizes seven important physical quantities of a matter, students, and all these seven physical quantities are called as a fundamental, or we also use the word basic quantities of a matter, students. So let us discuss what are these basic or physical quantities of matter. Okay, the first important physical or the fundamental quantity of matter is length, second one is called as a mass, third one is called as a time, fourth one is a temperature, fifth one is amount of substance, sixth one is electric current, and the seventh one is called as a luminous intensity. Okay, all these seven are said to be basic quantities of matter, or we call it as a fundamental quantities of matter, students. Yes, tell me, what are the seven fundamental quantities of matter? Yes, length, second one is mass, third one is time, fourth one is temperature, or we call it as a thermodynamic temperature, fifth one is called as the amount of substance, sixth one is electric current, and the seventh one is called as the luminous intensity. So totally seven important basic quantities of a matter. Now let us discuss what is the SI unit for all these seven quantities, or all these fundamental quantities of a matter. See, the first one is called as length. And this length, it is always expressed in terms of a meter. According to SI system, meter is the SI unit for length of the matter. Okay, what is the SI unit of length, student? Meter is the length of a matter. Then second quantity is mass. So this mass is expressed in terms of kilograms. So kg is the SI unit of mass of the chemical substance. Then the third fundamental quantity is time. So what is the SI unit here? Second is the SI unit of time. So second is the SI unit of time. Then the fourth fundamental quantity is temperature. Yes, student, tell me what is the SI unit of temperature? Yes, very good. Kelvin is the SI unit of thermodynamic temperature, or we call it as the temperature, students. Okay. Then the fifth important fundamental quantity is amount of substance. See, the fifth important fundamental quantity is amount of substance, and this amount of substance, so this amount of substance, it is expressed in terms of mole. So in terms of mole. So later we'll discuss about what exactly the meaning of mole and how to calculate the number of moles present in a given mass of substance, and all those concepts we'll discuss later in this chapter on. So here you just remember the amount of the chemical substance is expressed in terms of mole. Then the sixth one is electrical current. Electrical current is expressed in terms of ampere. Expressed in terms of ampere. And the last one is luminous intensity. So what is the SI unit of luminous intensity here? Candela is the SI unit of luminous intensity. Okay, so all these are nothing but the 7 basic quantities of a matter, or called as fundamental quantities of matter, and their SI unit. Is there any doubt in these 7 physical quantities, students? Yes, tell me. So what are the 7 fundamental quantities of a matter? Length, mass, time, temperature, electric current, so luminous intensity, and amount of chemical substance. Yes, tell me, student, what is the SI unit of amount of chemical substance? Very good. Mole is the SI unit. Now tell me, what is the unit of mass of the chemical substance, students? Very good. Kilogram is the SI unit of mass of the substance. Now tell me, what is the SI unit of temperature of the chemical substance? Kelvin is the SI unit of temperature, or thermodynamic temperature. Now tell me, what is the SI unit of electric current? Ampere. What is the SI unit of luminous intensity? Candela. Okay, so please remember all these 7 physical quantities and their SI unit, students. Okay, so with the help of these fundamental quantities, so we'll derive some more quantities, we'll derive some more SI units of substance. That means derived quantities and their units. Okay, so based on these fundamental quantities only, we'll derive the derived SI units of substances. Okay, so is there any doubt in the today's class? Is there any doubt in this today's class? So in the next session, in the next class, we'll discuss about the derived quantities and their SI unit part, then multiples and submultiples, or multiples and fractions used in the SI system. Along with these two concepts, we'll discuss about the differences between mass and weight of the chemical substance, how to measure the mass of the chemical substance in the laboratory, how to measure the volume of the chemical substance in the laboratory, then temperature factor, different scales of temperatures, and the conversion factor. So all these we'll discuss in the next class, Students. Today's assignment questions are, the first question is write a note on properties of matter. I repeat the first assignment question, students. Write a note on properties of a matter. Okay, and for this question you have to write, so what is physical property of a matter, what is chemical property of a matter, then you write example for both physical and chemical properties of matter. Okay, this is clear. And the second question is write the 7 fundamental quantities of matter and their SI units. I repeat the second question. Write the 7 fundamental quantities of matter and their SI units. Is it clear? So these two questions are the assignment questions to us. Okay, so with this I conclude my today's class. Thank you.